Hi, I'm Angie Veman, and welcome to Totally Clutch. This is the podcast for women like you to find ways to simplify your business and personal life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Welcome back to another episode of Totally Clutch, the Clutch Businesses podcast and vlog. I'm your host, Angie Veman, and today we have a very special guest, and we are, going to be working with this new concept for the podcast, or a new format where we're going behind the scenes in existing businesses and talking about their biggest challenges and finding together kind of opportunities to improve upon those challenges. So today we've got on the show Shawnna Journagan, who is an amazing artist and has transitioned her art to an online, selling her art onto an online store, and has everything set up. She built it and now wants them to come, and is, kind of struggling with the marketing in terms of figuring out what exactly she should be spending her energy and time on. And also, knowing what is going to work, what's going to take her to the next level. So with that, I want to welcome Shawnna to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I'm excited to dive in and learn more about what you've got going on. So can you, before we get started, just share a bit about your background and kind of the work that you do and how you came to do that work?
Yes. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting and graphic design. I quickly realized I didn't want to do the graphic design, and I wanted to be more hands-on, which is tricky. And that kind of led me around to working in theater. So I started working on scenic design type elements because it's just more tactile. So I ended up opening and running a theater for 10 years. So that's what I'm just coming out of in the last year or so. And getting back into my personal art, but I am still also an independent props designer. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. And so you're coming out of, running a theater. You've got some other things that you're working on. You've got a day job, and then is the goal to have your art be kind of the main source of your income, or even the only source?
Yes. Ideally it would just be my personal art. And then also the props are gigs. So I'm fine with continuing to do those. So, and they're artistic. So
yeah, creative for sure. And do you have an idea of how many customers you would need in order to get to that point where you could step away from your day job?
I do not. It's so tricky because there's such a difference between selling the original art and the prints. So I'm really excited about the idea of selling prints because that almost becomes passive income, especially with the company that I'm using that will produce it and send it for me. But so it's so hard to know, what size and how many people and, what would amount to a living wage. I know how many originals I could sell to survive, but the prints are all so different. So yeah, that's tricky.
Is there kind of an average price point that the prints are sold at?
I guess I would say the average, probably the most standard size, they would end up around $100.
Okay.
If that was like a 16 by 20 or it's been so long since I've looked at it that I'm like, what are the prices on that?
Yeah.
I decided at the time. So yeah, that math's always been hard to predict.
Yeah. And so is the idea then that if you were selling your art full time instead of, your day job, is the idea that you would have a combination of selling the prints and the original works?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I make it a point to get high resolution digital captures of all of my originals. before I would sell them. So yeah, that I can have an arsenal of sorts. But yeah, both would be great.
Okay, awesome. And do you have an idea of like what percentage of your revenue or the income that you're getting from that, what percentage you would want to be the originals and what percentage would be the prints?
That's a good question. Prints is I'm really focused on the prints right now because as much as I barely have time to market the existing images, creating new work is extra challenging. So I would love to get the prints set to go, like to get attention first,
Yeah.
And yeah, grab attention. I mean, I would love to sell originals, but yeah, they're different. It's so different because they're in the same place in the shop and other shops that I have other listings out there on the internet. And yeah, it's really different. But I think I want to focus on the prints first. So.
Okay, great. And then just kind of do the originals like as it feels right.
Yeah. I would have to all the time, but I have that practical brain of like, oh, I shouldn't make more. I need to sell the ones I have, or which is not correct, but it's just how I naturally feel. So ideally, it would be both. I could be doing both equally.
Yeah. And how have you found? So you've sold some prints so far. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's probably important to say initially right off the bat that, the focus of what we usually do is automating, like setting up an online store so that you don't really have to think about the back end. You don't have to think about fulfilling orders. You don't have to think about, reaching out to your customers, all of that kind of stuff, because that stuff, is once it's in place, getting it in place frees you up so much to focus on the things that really light you up, like, producing art or talking about your art or whatever it is. And so I guess it's important to say that you've actually got that part nailed down. Like the online store that you built is pretty much, it is set up to run itself at this point. So you're not having to pack orders. You're not having to process orders. You're not having to do any of that stuff. So you are like golden in that way. It's just getting people to the site to actually purchase the things that is the biggest challenge, right?
That whole thing. Yeah. Because by the time I got it set up, I have done no marketing. Yeah. I need to fill an email list and just market that. Like I hadn't actually, introduced the new website because I had an existing one and I put it out there when I first opened the previous shop. And that was when I sold, because I was all over, social media, et cetera. But then once I opened the art storefronts one, I was just didn't ever market it. So,
yeah. So what were the ways that so the clients that you've had, the customers that you've had, how have they found you or how have you found them?
Well, it's easy to tell. The ones that were purchased directly from my website were all people I know. So it was people who've seen it on social media. So it's been entirely friends. It's harder to tell. I also have a Society 6 shop.
Oh, yeah.
And Society 6 tells you when a purchase has been made and what it is, but not who, which is unfortunate. So there was kind of a mixed feeling of I'd see like, oh, someone bought this print or they bought a shower curtain of my painting. And, then I would kind of, this sounds bad, but I would kind of hope that it was a stranger, like just because that would mean some tentacles went out somewhere besides my social stratosphere. And then, it's lovely. Someone posts on Facebook, shower curtains by Shawnna Journagan. And I'm like, oh, it was you. Like, so with.
Yeah. Oh, and it was a friend.
Yeah. It was an acquaintance that was like through theater.
Okay.
And so I think all but I'd say 75% of the purchases that I've noticed from Society 6 are people I know.
Okay.
And then otherwise, they're their own shop, so they kind of push it. And you make like no money, but it's still someone like buys a bedspread of my painting. That I don't know who that is, but it's like I make almost nothing out of it, but I also did nothing like besides set it up to automate, like you said. So yeah,
yeah, except you created the piece of work that was designing it, or that it makes up the design, which is really meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so with the old site that you had, did you send out an email? Like, was there a big push to tell friends and family that you were doing this, or it just kind of, the people that found out about it just kind of found out about it, and that was kind of it?
Email, I have 1000% failed. Like I have an address and I have, the MailChimp and all of that, but I have sent 0 emails. It's all through Facebook and Instagram or word of mouth, but mostly social media is the only way anyone knows I'm doing it. Okay.
And is it like well, I guess that part doesn't matter, but yeah, I mean, I guess, and I had asked this question earlier, but probably important to just revisit it. From a marketing standpoint, like, are you clear on what you want and need to be doing from a marketing standpoint, or is it, and just don't have the time, or is it that you're not entirely sure about the strategy and also probably don't have the time, and don't have the time because you're not clear on the strategy?
It's a mixed bag because I have, my day job is actually part-time. So there is some time, but it's kind of that mountain to climb of like, it's not what my brain wants to do at all, is sit down and like look at marketing strategies. And then I need like a whole day, like a zone to get into and set that up. So I think it's partly like I don't have time, but then I also could, and maybe that is partly the not full confidence in how to approach it. Like I know I've heard so many times how important it is to launch, is the word I was looking for. To actually launch the website, invite people, create the email list, but then it'll do like where I'm like, I don't have the list ready, so I can't do the launch, and it'll, then I'll just go take a nap. Like, so it's like, it's the mixture of, enough time or how I use the time, or, that whole thing about trying to just do it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, I can totally resonate with, that's not really what you want to be spending your time doing, or it's not what feels like when you could go and do this or go and do that, and, or make a social media post. Like,
well, I think once it's in place, then it won't be as bad, because it's like, okay, I'm home from work, I'll spend an hour. And, because I know there's the Hootsuite, and you can set up like all kinds of ways to just like, I'm going to type this all in one day, and then it's going to look like I'm releasing it, or, like as it goes. Because I was actually having fun when I got the most attention, obviously through my Facebook page and Instagram, that I would do the in situ paintings that, look like they're in someone's beautiful home, and they're not. It's just a digital thing. But people really responded to it. And it was kind of fun just to like plop them out, every now and then, and see how they got attention. So I have an idea of how to set it up, but again, it's just the doing it thing. So
does it feel okay? So the things that have worked for you in the past, do those feel natural to you? Like, are they things that you enjoy?
I do not.
Enjoy it. Okay.
I liked setting up the pictures, and I liked Instagram because I didn't have to say much. I was just like, here's the name of this one, and maybe I'll say something slightly clever. But doing the like, we're having a sale, or, that kind of thing makes me, because I had to do it for 10 years for my theater. So I'm so tired of trying to sell people on buying art that's, a little weird. And it's not that I stand by the product, but it's just, when it's for yourself, it's feels weird.
Again, that totally resonates. It took me a while to get to the point where, I really connected with the value that I was providing people and how I was providing it to them. And just getting clear on that got me like really pumped about selling things. And, that doesn't mean that I'm even that good at it still to this day, or that I'm actively doing it on social media regularly and all of that kind of stuff. But it started to feel more comfortable it started to feel really comfortable when I switched the way I was thinking about it. And so, and when I gave myself permission to let go of the things that did not feel natural, right? Like some of the things I think as business owners, and I feel like this comes up every single time I'm talking to somebody, we feel like we have to do certain things because we've been told that that's how you grow and that's how you create a business. And, there aren't businesses out there that are doing every single one of those things and doing every single one of them well. And so I think there's some permission in that, when you get clear on your value, on how you're providing that value and what feels good and right to you, or I guess when you get clear on those things, there's permission to do the things that feel good and right to you and have an impact. And most of the time, I see that they have more of an impact because it is more natural instead of this forced kind of, I'm supposed to post on social media every day or 3 times a week or something. And it's just like a grind to get those posts out there, and you can just feel it as the people taking it in. So that's just why I ask
the ways that, like how you're kind of instructed or how it's recommended to do that. I definitely need it to be in my language or not. I'll try to take the marketing and translate it to how I'm even willing to appear. Like you might have noticed the ridiculous titles of my paintings, like where like I need to keep it because abstract. It's like, you can't be like view of a tree, like, it's like or I don't want to call it like, numbers 1 through 20 of this series. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, I figuring out how to market effectively and be likable, or have it be like, I need you to like me also, or to kind of invest in the brand, or that kind of thing.
I totally get that. Go ahead.
No, that's I appreciate that you say it, because it took a while. Like running the theater, I really struggled with that at first, and that was a little easier though, because there was other people it could be for, like all the people who are working on the show, or who like, okay, I hate it, but I'll keep fighting for it. I didn't hate it, but you know what I mean. But when it's like just about me, it's almost worse, because it's like, look at me, like I feel like that's probably a lot of entrepreneurial struggle, is that I can let myself down, but letting a whole team down feels worse. Like, so getting the focus on the only person losing out is me if I don't fight for this, or so it's tricky.
I wonder if, so this has been kind of coming up for me as we're talking, and this is not necessarily something that I recommend often for people, but I wonder if, just with everything that you've been saying, and then that idea of having somebody else on board, or not just speaking for yourself, I wonder if it wouldn't be beneficial to just hire somebody either part-time on a regular basis, or just in a one-time, like a clump of time, like kind of as a project, that like an assistant of some sort that could help you kind of craft this, this marketing vision that you have in your eyes, right? So whether it's social media or not. And let me take a step back first and say that I wonder if it wouldn't be beneficial, because it's pretty low pressure and easy to kind of whip up, is to just send an email or to send a social media post or or a DM to all of the people in your life and let them know that, hey, I've got this store up. I would either, if you don't want to sell, I'd love for you to check it out. Or, hey, I think you'd really like that. I mean, you don't have to get that personal. It could be to everybody all at once. But one of the things that I think newer businesses struggle with is that we remove ourselves from the network that we've already built over however many years we've been on this planet, because the business feels separate from who we are. And, what we kind of lose, what we lose in that is that we have a wide variety of people in our lives, and there are going to be, when you think about your friends or your family, they might not initially be your ideal client or, your ideal customer, but there are people that are going to be in that group that are, and we know them as this person, but, they might have this other side of them that isn't, like Uncle Gary is like, an art collector or something and we didn't even know that because we just know him as, the guy that just eats all the cranberries at Thanksgiving or something. Right. So
yeah,
I wonder if there's,
I was surprised.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The friends who did purchase, not that it was ever like, you're the cranberry eating uncle, but like, it was definitely like, oh, like, it was pleasant to see who took interest and buys art.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a huge, and I did this. It took me a really long time and I think there was like a bit of, it was a total mindset thing for me, that there was something about stepping into being that person for all of the people in my life that I was unwilling to do. Because I was scared or, because of whatever the reason is. And, I think so why I'm suggesting it in this case, one is because I think a lot of businesses miss that as an opportunity to build kind of a client base that's relatively, like I said, easy, low pressure. These are people that want to support you, and they'll tell their friends, right? So it creates this organic growth that's just, kind of lurking there always and forever. And I think in your case, it might provide you some extra capital that you could use to hire somebody part-time, like a couple of hours a week, or like I said, on a project basis that could help you build out this marketing stuff so that you could, and again, from your vision, right? So you choose, you don't have to do the social posts. You don't have to, go live on Insta. Like you don't have to do all of those things if you don't want to, but you can get those things in place. And what I have found is that when I'm doing it myself and I don't have time, I just fall into what I've been told I should do. I fall into the way that I've been told to talk about it. And again, remove myself from the business. I remove myself from that burning passion that made me step into this role in the first place. And I just start checking boxes, and it's soul crushing. And it doesn't work because it doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate with me, and it doesn't resonate to the people that I'm talking to. And so what has been helpful for me, and have seen this be helpful for other clients, is that when they have somebody on, somebody that they have to bring along for the ride, they have to enroll in their vision. It forces you to get really clear about what that is and what matters to you. And it also gives you the time to focus on that instead of the actual doing. And then it's not going to be like a meteoric rise, but it starts to get the wheels in motion at least. And hopefully you start to build continue to build that capital. So you build capital by, harnessing the power of your friends and family. Then you build capital, you use that capital to build more with, an assistant or somebody that can help you kind of get all of the things in place that you need to from a marketing perspective. And then maybe you do that like every 3 months so that it's not, it's not something that you have to think about all the time. It's not weighing on your shoulders. It's, but it does. And even, that 3 month time frame might even just give you some breathing room to see what feels right and to, and see what works and what you like and what you don't like.
And make the actual work like more actually paint instead of market.
Yeah.
Which sounds great. Yeah, I've actually been surprised by how many people say that how much that worked for them, the emailing friends and family, and which makes me like, ooh. I mean, and I did it. I did it plenty for the theater, and and I will not argue with that it works because I keep hearing that. There was one of a really inspiring entrepreneurs, Patricia Vargas. She has her Rima studio, and she I heard about her on the Abundant Artist podcast, or I heard her interview. And yeah, she was just like, I started an Etsy and like emailed some friends. Then, like I made $50. Like, but it is process of just obviously it depends on who's around you or if anyone likes you. But but I think there's definitely something to it. And that's what I was trying so hard to like build a decent list and not irritate anyone by emailing them. But it's 2022 and people email, like, so it's get over it, Shawnna.
But it is hard. It totally is. I mean, you're not the first person to struggle with it. I mean, like I said, I still have not like put out, I did it to a few friends when I was like kind of beta testing whether or not this was something that I wanted to do, whether or not it was something that I thought would benefit people or, that they wanted. But I still haven't done that where I just send out, like, let everybody in my life know that this is what I'm up to. I kind of did for the first time this week. Because I had this, thanks. I had this grant that, part of the requirement, so I'm in the running for it, one of the finalists, and one of the requirements is that you get a certain, or you get people to vote for you. And, so this, I finally like posted on my personal Facebook page to all of my people, like, hey, will you vote for me? Here's what I'm up to. And, so it's not uncommon. And I'm shocked at the number of people that are kind of showing up for me. And also I know people that have built 6-figure businesses just, in the first 2 years, just doing that. So it does feel like a big, wild, and not super fulfilling, or maybe not fulfilling, not a super fruitful step, but there is something to be said about it. And I think, if anything, it's just like, if you want to talk, like, get into the manifestation world, you're just like putting it out there, and there's freaking power in that alone.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised by the response when I finally, like, when I started the Facebook page and asked for likes, and it was really like, oh, people do, like, they they might have a look, because that's, we're all on screens all the time.
Totally.
So yeah, it's getting there. I definitely, it's on all of my to-do lists, like, get email.
Yeah.
Because it's tried and true for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Anything else that we should talk about? Anything else on your mind?
Oh, probably. Now I just have, how do you get emails in my head?
Do you have friends and, do you have the emails of friends and family, or is that like something that...
I have a pretty small family, but I definitely have a lot of people I used to email with my last business that I was like, it could be like, I stepped away, here's what I'm doing now. And it's kind of what I feel like my approach is. Like, you took interest in the last art I was making, here's the new art I'm making. So I don't feel like I'm feeling like I'm poaching emails.
Yeah.
Consider them all friends / acquaintances. And, so there is kind of, but I'll just see, art storefronts that my website shoppers through has a Facebook group called Small Wins. And they talk about, well, you have to have at least 10,000 email recipients. And I'm like, how?
No, you do not.
Ideal lists.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I was asking at the beginning. I mean, it would be helpful to just get clear on what your numbers are. Like, how much do you want to be making every year? And then, take that number, divide it by 100, if that's your average, average purchase price or average cost of or retail of your product. And that's how many customers you need. Divide that by 52. That's, how many customers you need in 1 week, and just start working towards that. Because, and I say that because, again, that having 10,000 people on your email list is like, I don't buy it. Sure, there are some people that absolutely works for, but the number is only the number. If there are 10,000 people that don't give a shit about what you're buying, then it doesn't matter at all how many, it could be 1 million people or 10. If they don't care about what you're doing, it doesn't matter.
10% of them open the emails anyway. So
not even. If you're doing 10%, you're doing pretty good. Yeah.
No, out of 1 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I kind of run those numbers in my head of the, back to the question of how many customers do I need? That's a hard one again, just because of the difference in the cost of an original and a print. And then when I think about what if it was just prints, and I do that math of like, how many weeks are in a year? I'm like, like it has to be so many prints. Like, that it, then you're like, it's impossible, never mind. But I'm not quitting, but it's it's definitely daunting to think like,
it can be overwhelming. I think for sure. The one thing too that I will just say is that, once they become customers, there is a way that you can nurture them so that you can nurture in 2 ways. One, you can nurture to be repeat customers. Or 2, you can nurture to be your biggest advocate. So you can you can put the onus on them to spread the word about what you're doing too. I always use this example that it's so silly, but so last year or the year before at the dog park, me and my dog show up. Every freaking dog at that dog park has this bacon ball. I still don't even know what it is, right? But these dogs were going wild for it. It was a $20 ball. Every single dog at the dog park had it. We didn't have one, but I sure went home and looked on the internet and, I didn't end up buying one, but like I sure wanted to. And so the one person, and come to find out what happened, one person brought the bacon ball to the dog park. Like the week before, every dog in the dog park was going bananas over it. So then every one of those owners went back home or, got on their phone at the dog park and bought one for their dog. And within a week, every single dog had one. And so I think there's a way that you can do that with the customers that you have, where you're encouraging them to spread the word about what you're doing too, without, making it a pyramid scheme.
The guy who bought the shower curtains was definitely making that effort. Like he made a whole post about it, and then he had friends say, "Where do I go to buy these?" And like that was awesome. And that's where the Society 6 does the all like pillows and mugs and like all of the stuff. Where it is, where I'm like, makes me want to make something kitschy so it gets popular.
Yeah, totally.
You're like, I'll just do that one. I'll have the kitschy section. And then I also have, there's a company called Les Galeriste that puts my stuff on clothing too, which I'm just like, if someone would just wear it, then like, where'd you get that dress? Oh, let me tell you.
And maybe that's part of your reach out to your friends and family is maybe you have one of those shirts. You say, hey, can I send this to you? And will you, somebody who's really active on social media and would be a great model, like, hey, can I send this to you? And will you post about it on your page?
I can think of a handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some very active Facebook or Instagrammers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've all got them.
I'm like, I'm only seeing you.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Okay, amazing. So does this feel like, do you feel like you did when we first started talking, or does some of this feel like, oh, I could probably do that?
I definitely feel inspired because I love talking about the strategy, that it can be real, that it's possible. First of all, to sell art, because that always sounds like, oh, good luck. But there's so many more opportunities as an artist now because of the internet. Like all the places I've mentioned, it used to have to be like a schlepping to galleries and sending slides everywhere and hoping the work was weird. But yeah, now it just being like, look at my website and, and then create shops and just try to get the word out and not have to, be someone awful or, hobnob quite as much. So yeah, this is a great conversation because I'm remembering all of the research and work I did that I put down 6 months ago. So
yeah, just dust it off.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs a good dusting.
Cool.
Wet dust.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being open and honest about what's happening in your world. Sure. And thanks for what you do.
Well, thank you for what you do. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some great things that can help you move from hustle to flow, because I believe in you and your business. Until next time.